Hello, my name is Matt, Customer Success Manager here at Quickbase, and we have office hours here today. As always, these are hosted every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern. We have weekly add-on tips, tricks, and an open forum for you guys. We try to do this as normal. So again, if you were here last week, you might have seen this intake form get created, how we used, actually some Quickbase fields here, Quickbase URL field, which I will be using again today, to pre-populate a form in a different app with customer information so that they can fill it out in an EOTI role. Now, if I'm being honest, we don't want to repeat too much information, so we're not going to go over how to do all that again. We're just going to kind of jump right to the point of having a client opt in. So you guys might be able to see my phone. I'm going to try to show you guys from my phone the text messages I'm getting. I'm not as savvy as our colleague James, who was able to do a little phone screen share, so bear with me on that. If he was here, unfortunately he's out today, but if he was here, I would have him help me. But we're just going to go ahead and show you the process. So first things first, you want to have this link emailed out to a client. Now, I know that when I click this button, Generate Exact Forms Plus document, it's going to add a file attachment as well as a date. So when I click that, you're going to see this 11 o'clock change to probably 11:05. And this is going to make just a regular welcome letter through Exact Forms Plus. This is something that we did in a long time ago, office hours. So we're not even going to worry about that right now. But that, if you were interested, that might have been from the 4th of January. And you could watch that video of how we set these buttons up. Really cool, really basic level tutorial to Exact Forms Plus. So if I hit refresh as I hoped, we have a 11:05 here. And what that did is this sent me an email with this link in there. So this might look like gibberish to you, but if you open it up behind the scenes, you actually see that we have a regular rich text formula here. And when I first started working with Juice Tech, there's no way I would have ever known how to do this, but this is a really nifty way to direct people to another application. So we're saying grab the root of your Quickbase realm, ampersand, DBID, the recommended table, so the table you want to send them to, and then an API, generate add record form. If you notice at the top here, it looks very similar in this line one. We got, juicetech.quickbase.com, db/ your DBID and the field ID. So we're essentially passing that in, as well as some more information, which is saying, hey, take field ID 6 in this other application and populate it with primary contact, 7 with office phone, 8 with email, etc. So again, we have 7 primary contact, we have office phone, and we're populating all of that in this intake application, which I'm going to show you guys in a second. So I believe I should have just gotten an email, which I did. And it's saying, hello, please submit your intake form. There's a button there. And now I have this intake form open in my other application. So if you imagine this from an EOTI role, what I did last week is I showed you guys from my Gmail how I got it. So an email account that was not in this app, EOTI would not allow you to see users, would not allow you to see any of the other tables, would not allow you to edit. It would just give you the ability to add this record, and that's it. So you could update your information. Now, again, I don't want to regurgitate the same information over and over again. So this is just utilizing the same form to show you how you could also have clients opt in for text messaging. So, first things first, you allow the client to make changes. So I know that's not my cell phone number. So I'm going to add my correct cell phone number. Don't text me. Would you like to receive text from us? Yes. And then we're going to go to Matthew T at Juice Tech. We're going to choose an option, weekly payments. And we can say, 1,000. And, this is all regurgitated information from last week, but we're also just checking this checkbox to confirm that I would like a lease application. That was the workflow we were working on last week. And I can just put my full name in there. And I'll say additional comments, this new drill. Great. So when I save this, we have another trigger going off So just to give you guys an understanding, because I actually get this question more than I would think, what is a trigger? A trigger is an action in Quickbase that changes the record, which causes an email notification to go out. That's what we're using a trigger for. And for this one, we actually have a trigger right here in these notifications that say text my QB opt in, opt out. So what's happening is the consent to opt in is happening. The tenant number is not blank. The static message is not blank. And the opt-in is equal to checked. So those are our filter criteria that allows us to say if all of these are true, then send the text message. And this configuration right here is pointing to our Text My QB config app. We allow any customer who's going to be using Text My QB to get access to that if needed, if you have many different texting scenarios you want, as well as the record ID we're on and the type equals Text My QB. Now, for those of you who have been keeping up with all of our office hours, there's been other types, type equals PDF merger, type equals package builder. There's, for this one, it's obviously type equals Text My QB. So just to kind of show you, I did get the text message on my phone there. I know you can't really see that, but something that you can see is if I go back to the record, you can actually see a copy of the message here. So I'm going to take a second, pause. Does anyone have any questions on how I got this text message to send? Because I'm going to go over all that in a second. I know I'm talking a million miles an hour, everyone, but that's just the way I roll. So we have the text message sent, and here's the name, the contact name. Say, thanks for opting into our text messaging service. Message sent successfully. I did receive it, as well as the date I received it, and a unique message ID. So this is great for kind of a continued conversation. You have a log of that. So if I go and answer that now, and I could say, thanks for including. So a client can come in and answer. Okay. I got a message saying that they would like to see it again on how that went out. So that's a great question. So let's kind of go over it again. Just so you guys know, I did just text back the number. And if I hit refresh, I have thanks for including me from me. That's my number to our Text My QB number. Again, it's got the same activity number. So you can kind of see that conversation back and forth. What's next? How? So I'm just answering it again to show you kind of the proof of concept that you can have many inbound text messages that come in. And I said, what's next? How did this work? So essentially what's going on is we have behind the scenes here. And now if you were to do this for a real client, if you wanted to actually have this as an intake form, in no way would you show them these fields. But for those of you who are setting this up on your end, this is what's actually going on behind the scenes. We have a text message field here that is stating what we want it to say. And I can have this say basically anything I want. So if I come in and edit this, I could have my standard text, which is a preset, predefined text message that everyone would get. Or I could write something in like, hi, this is a custom message.
One thing I wanted to point out there is we have some customers that have a library of messages. So, and they create a relationship to the intake form. So, maybe there's an agent needs to reply or send out a consistent message to customers all the time. So it might say, hey, this is a claim. Please upload your images to this text message so that there's some consistent messaging going back and forth. So there's another option. So you can have a free-form text field to control your message. You can have a static text message, or you can have a library of messages that it would have a drop down there where you would choose the message that you want to send out to the recipient.
Right. And that's a great point too, because you might want to have that message controlled by who created the record or a certain drop down field in Quickbase. We have clients that have, huge libraries too. It does not need to be one or two. I can definitely go to our demo quickly after this, just so you guys can see how our demo works. That's a very commonly asked for use case as well. But to get back to kind of how this went out, because I have this text message already predefined, so it's going to my canned messages, kind of as Keith said, I could either change it or leave it the same. But since I'm kind of sending multiple people the same intake form, and they're checking this checkbox here that says, would you like to receive text messages from us? That is kind of the opt-in. If you guys have made accounts for really any website, it says, does, Juice Technologies have permission to reach out to you via text message? And there's a checkbox there at the bottom of the form. When you check that checkbox, that is the trigger that would go out to say, hey, you are giving us permission to send you text messages. And again, by that being checked, we're actually sending in the settings an email notification that is saying consent to opt-in. That's actually the name of the field. So if I went back and
the important email address to look at though too there is, Matt, just point out that email address because that's
right. Yep. I might have kind of went right over that. We're actually emailing Text My QB at mail.quickbasetools.com. So that's our email address for our processor. So anytime you set up any of our batch or triggered add-ons, whether it's Text My QB or Exact Forms plus batch, Excel Docs batch, PDF merger, whatever it might be, if it's being executed by an email notification, there is going to be a specific email address that you're going to need to send to. And for this example, it's textmyqb at mail.quickbasetools.com. For something like PDF merger, it's going to be something like PDF merger at pdfmerger.quickbasetools.com. If you need help finding these, or you don't know where to go to find these, our help site is a great resource on how to create these email notifications. Justin, if you could just throw that in the chat, that'd be great. But this comes from our help site. You'd be able to find it there. We list out exactly step by step what you need to do. The reason why you see Shally and my email addresses on there is so that we get a confirmation email from Quickbase. So this is a regular open email notification in Quickbase. There's really nothing too special about it besides the fact that we're emailing our processor. We do use these filters, the notification when, as our filter criteria. So it's only going to go out when certain things are true. And Justin, thank you for that. I'm actually going to click on it so we can go and show. So this is our help site. And this is going to give you kind of all the information for sending out the text message. Again, here's that email address. You can find it right in there, so that hey, I want to send this out. And what email address do I go to? You can go to email notification creation under Text My QB setup, and you'll find it right there. And it also gives you some additional examples of, how to set this up. You might notice the custom message is there. Here's our custom message. Your configuration is going to be unique. No two config IDs are the same. So if you get one, it's certainly not going to be 445. It might be 450, depending on when you guys sign up. But that's going to be unique to you. That's how we know, hey, this text message is going out, and here's the criteria. I can potentially show that. Keith, do you think I should show the text message configuration app? Not sure if that's needed.
You can if you want. You can go to that 445 just so they see it quick.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to go into our text configurations app. And let's go to 445 so we can go take a look at what that is. And if I go, and if I open this up, so here you go. So here's just a quick overview of what you're going to see there in a second. And essentially what we're doing is we're putting some few pieces of information in here that allow us to send this text message out. So again, if I go back to our intake form and I open up the app, so this is now the home page, you're going to see that this is our app ID, and we're plotting that app ID here. And it's just an opt-in, opt-out name. We have the processing details as it's outbound. We're sending an outbound text, and it's enabled and it's triggered. As I said, trigger, several times in this. So we're triggering it via this email notification. And again, if I'm moving too fast, please stop me. We have some CDON information there. Just so you know, CDON is now called eSendX. We have our table DBID, which I've been pointing to this whole time, as well as from my lease management application. This intake form is pointing to that table. So that's what we're doing. We're creating a record on this table. So you see right up here, DB/, and then we have the table DBID. It's from the slash to the question mark. That's also a pretty common question. So if anyone ever wonders, hey, where are they getting these DBIDs from? That's where it's coming from. It's a pretty important thing to know, especially as you're using some of these, extracurricular tools. And then we're identifying a few fields in here. So we have our message field, the to phone number, the field we're updating, similar to the date time field for Exact Forms Plus. This is just going to be the date time that it was sent, and then the status on whether the message was sent successfully or not, as well as the unique message ID, which is pretty important. So again, if I want to just show you, here's that update field. Here's the actual text message. I don't know if that's shown. Our status field, as well as our unique message ID field. So that's kind of all the information that we're updating in Quickbase to allow us to kind of send out these text messages, as well as that you get, just an activity log that we add, and that's actually this right here. So if I opened up that activities, text message activities table, you'll see every text message ever. And a common question I get when I'm doing Text My Quickbase setups is, why do I need a text activities table? I just want to see it on each individual record. That wouldn't really work because we really need a parent-child relationship. So for each intake form, there can be many text messages. But if you just had just the intake form and you were trying to add text messages per each intake form, you would have a new intake, a new master record for each text message you send. So we make this child table, which then just connects right back to your intake form. So I can open this up and see just the records, just the child records to this specific intake. So if you had clients or if you had dispatched groups, you will see that the text messages you send and receive are only those for that specific record. You could also see that, which ones were outbound and inbound. In a previous Text My Quickbase setup, we went through how to, colorize this and make it so that you clearly see, okay, blue is outbound and green is inbound. That's just ways for UI changes to make your life easier. So I wanted to make sure I understood that. So I did get a question before. I'd like to see again how that text went out. Now, I'm not sure if that, completely answered your question or not. So I'm just going to kind of go through the whole process one more time. What I did to start this off, and this doesn't need to kick off to another table. I want to make that clear too. So just so you guys understand, I'm showing the intake form portion of this just to prove the concept of you do not need to have clients as Quickbase users to utilize this add-on. Same thing with Exact Forms Plus, same thing with Courier. As long as you have it locked down in an EOTI role, you can, and by the way, for those of you who might not know, EOTI stands for everyone on the internet. I just wanted to be able to show you guys that there's many ways you could use this without having Quickbase users actually interacting with this. So again, my trigger to kick off what I built last week, which is Exact Forms Plus, kicking off Courier, which is just a very standard basic Exact Forms Plus document. Again, I did that a while back. Now kicked off. And if I showed you the settings, notifications, we have we have our send intake form, which gets kicked off. This was last week's office hours. So if you have questions on how this is working, definitely go to last week's. And this is sending me an email with this link. Now, if I was using my Gmail, which I did do last week, I would have the ability to do an EOTI role. and fill out this intake form. Where do you go? Thanks, lease management. Oh, if I clicked on that button, which, if some of this content was there, show blocked content, that's kind of our mail server blocking that stuff, but this submit intake form button is there. Again, we now have it directing us to a submission application where a client can update the information. Again, I'm making another record right now. And if I did not check this checkbox, would you like us to receive text from us? Nothing's going to go out. There's going to be no text message because they're not technically opting in. But I will check it for the point of this. We'll do monthly payments, check that off, and we'll do 1,500 authorized by selling yes. And this word. Again, all these fields, and I know I'm repeating myself, but all these fields would not be shown to the client. They would just see the fields that they can fill out, especially if they're in the EOTI role. But by checking this checkbox, that trigger went out. My text message was sent. Here's my text. Hope you guys like my background. And then the client can respond, thanks for sending the update. Please let me know of deals. And I can text it back. Now, you might see something on this page right now that looks, different. Is this EFP document was created? This is that lease application from last week. Again, I'm reutilizing the same application. This is what we went over last week, how to create this document, which is dynamic based off of the fields in there. And then it actually emails out that application directly to the person who filled it out in that contact email. Again, that was last week's office hours, so don't get confused. Did you get a response if the text is not delivered? Yes, Francisco, you do actually. So see how the message sent successfully? Any outbound message will give you a failure if it's not delivered. Some other questions that I might get are, if it's the wrong number or a landline. Obviously, if it's a landline, it gives you back an error saying, hey, this is not a valid phone number. Additional features of the company that we utilize, you actually can do calling, but that is extra payment. I know we have gotten that occasionally before. One last thing that I do want to definitely touch upon in this is the text message activities. In these text activities, we made a couple fields here, and I would recommend putting almost all of these on here. And if I showed you our Text My QB configurations, we have kind of a log for each one of them. If you make it in order, you should be able to just go down the line 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So we have our activity phone number. So that's who is going to be sending out the text. So let me go back. Activity phone number. So that's okay. We're sending it from there. And then we have, it's over. 7 is the to. So who is it going to? So it's going to our number because this is an inbound. Then we have the actual message itself. This just gives you a copy of the message. So here's the activity message. Again, if I right-clicked on that field, if you right-click on the field name, you'll see field ID equals 8. So we have 8 there. 9, status. 10 is an error checkbox. So Francisco, back to your question. If there's an error, will something happen? Yes. You'll get an activity error checkbox. And then as well, you have the date time and the unique message ID, which we have here. Date time, which is actually plotted wrong, and unique message ID. So that's cool. All right, Sexy.
And just one thing to point out too is we do all this setup for you as part of the setting up the add-on itself. We'll do all of this configuration app setup and make sure everything's working. And we do invite you into that app if you have to make any changes, or you want to make some changes on your own, you can. But for the most part, it's set it up and it kind of works, and we help you through that process so that you're not going to be lost in setting that up yourself. So
Right.
we'll do that
Right.
for you.
Yeah, and Keith, that's a good point. There's always a recommended setup for us. Having one of our developers work with you hand in hand, so that you completely understand the process, so that it's working out of the box, and there's no questions that need to be asked. No fiddling with it. You're going to get something working right away. That is definitely always recommended. Monica, you did have a good question. Are texts able to be organized, or are they filled based on a subject, or do they aggregate only into the text records field? Also, on average, how much memory space does texting utilize? So memory space wise, it should be very, very little. All these are text messages or records really in Quickbase. We do have the ability to have images and attachments in these text messages. You may see an increase in storage space if you're utilizing that ability to send a file attachment or an image or a GIF or something like that. That will certainly increase your Quickbase storage. I'm assuming that's what you mean by memory space. Because yes, okay, yes. So in terms of Quickbase, very, very, very little. These are just regular records, unless you're adding lots of images. That's when the kind of storage space starts to ramp up. As far as organizing, this is actually just a Quickbase report. So if I customize this form and I went down to text message records, basically all we have is a regular report link here. So if I wanted to change the settings of that report link, you can decide, okay, which columns you want to show, or you can actually filter it based off of what you're trying to see. So if you only want to see the inbound text messages, you don't want to see what was outbound, I believe I could just filter the records and find the one that says inbound/outbound and say, is equal to, and just say inbound. Now, if I save this and close this out, say that again, it's only going to show me the inbound record now. So of course you can do that for any field. I just decided to do inbound, outbound, because that's a yes or no. If you wanted to be only ones that, have the activity message field includes update, you could have that as well. But that's a good
activities. Sorry to jump in. The activities table is stored in your app, so you can create any types of reports. If you can create an error report, I want to see all of the text activities that had errors. I want to see, have an inbound report, an outbound report. You can do whatever you can do normally in Quickbase reporting.
Right. That's probably the best way to put it. It is, and that's really the beauty of a lot of our add-ons. Is it's all within Quickbase. Many times you really don't even realize you're using something that's out of Quickbase. Again, this is just an error report that shows if that checkbox is checked. Thankfully, we've had no errors, so there's nothing to show there. If I put is not equal to checked, you'll see all the rest of the text messages that came in. But yeah, that as far as sorting the text messages that are coming in, certainly pretty easy to do. One thing I will say is in my experience, I haven't seen too many clients that have had an overwhelming amount of text messages. However, this can be a whole conversation back and forth. That's something that most people do want to see, is they want to be able to have kind of that conversation with their clients right through Quickbase. Something else I've gotten is, how do I get notified? I'm not sure, if the client that I was speaking with at that time was expecting to get a text message themselves, but that's something we could potentially do. We could have a separate trigger and a separate configuration to send out a static text that says you received a text message in Quickbase for X record ID. That is something that has been asked for in the past. It's not necessarily needed. You also can have a email notification on your text activities table, which can essentially say, new email notification that can notify me or a specific list of users. You could put whoever is needed. If you have a couple admins or super users, I could just put my own email for now. And what you could do is just have it when a text is added. So every single time a text message is added, you get an email that says, text message received. And you could have either record ID or record owner, or you could have the activity phone number. So, you could have text message received from, yada, yada. Please review this text from, and then again, activity phone number at date time. So by doing that, you're now getting kind of that notification that, hey, I did get a text message, I should go check. If you're sending out a lot of these, that might get a little redundant. You might get a lot of those text messages, which could get a little annoying depending on who you are and what your business use case is. But if you only are expecting 10 to 20 of these a week, it might be a good idea to get that notification. So just to do again, high level summary, quickly, all we did today is show you, hey, we have the text message itself being kicked off by a trigger. We have the cell phone number of the client already in another table, but we're giving them the ability to update it so that they have the latest updated number on there. They're making a few selections to typical text fields in Quickbase just to gather some more information from them. And then upon saving, when this is checked, it is sending out the first text message to them, which is just a hello, thanks for opting in, which you could then use in the future to send out any text you might want to that client. Again, we have set up for many people kind of a way to have a back and forth conversation, almost as if you're sending text messages right back and forth between you and a friend. So it's really great. It's one of our most popular tools in recent months. As you all are aware, everyone's on their phone 24/7. It's nice to be able to reach out to them like that through Quickbase using information that's already in your CRM or whatever application type you might have.
The other cool thing is if you build that conversation, you can take advantage of what Quickbase has to offer as well through pipelines. So if a message comes back, a response is back, and it has the word stop in it, you can fire off a pipeline that would now update this record on the intake form and opt them out now. So you can do any series of things and actions that can be triggered based on somebody sending a text back to your original text, and maybe they want to opt out, they want to stop receiving messages, they want help, they want more information, they want something else. So you can really build a nice communication mechanism back and forth to your client base this way.
Right. Yep. So Francisco asks what the monthly hosting charges. I will pull up our help site again. I might have closed it out. Just so you guys know, in our help site, this is public to everyone. We're pretty transparent about our pricing. I went to overview and add-on pricing. You should be able to see everything for us. So for a monthly add-on, which falls under all other add-ons, this is considered a basic add-on. We have the monthly price as $64.95 per month. That includes, I believe, 1,000 text messages per month. If you went annual, it would be $54.95 a month, with, I believe, maybe 12,000 text messages a month. Could be a little bit less. I'm like, actually, why not look?
A year.
Why not look? Yeah. So 1,000 text message for the month, 12,000 for the year if you went annual. And again, those prices are $54.95 when paid annually and $64.95 when paid monthly. Again, super transparent. If you wanted to, you can make yourself a quote. I believe we might even be doing the same kind of intake form here. Something similar.
Yeah.
I wonder where I got the idea from. But I am here. If you guys have questions regarding Text My Quickbase or any other add-on, I don't want to, limit you guys. Some of you might have Exact Forms Plus questions. Some of you guys might have Excel Docs questions. We're here. If you want to ask those questions, this is your time. We want to make sure that everyone understands that, open forum truly means open forum. Don't be shy. You can put it in the chat if you have a question. We'd be happy to answer. If not, you could always reach out to support@juicetech.com or myself, Matthew T, at juicetech.com as well. And just to kind of go in, just so you guys know, again, Text My Quickbase. We have all of the setup information here. We have kind of some different versions, how you can set up a button to send out these text messages rather than a trigger. What you might need for the application setup. We really try to make sure we have as much information as possible. Images, receiving images, sending images. So the resources are there. We have a whole pipeline breakdown for you guys on how to relate the inbound messages. Lots of colors, Candyland, Keith's favorite.
Todd's favorite.
Todd's favorite. But it seems like everyone's pretty much all set on questions. I will say we truly I apologize to sound on a bit late. Where do I find previous office hours? Great question. Glad you asked. So previous office hours can be found in a number of places, including our website. So I can go to, I think this is our website here. I can go to Add-On trainings, and then previous recordings, or register now for new ones. So previous recordings will take you to our help site, which is one of the best places to go to find all of the previous recordings, including this one by tomorrow. Thank you, Justin. The other thing you could do is you could just go to YouTube, which we do, put all of our add-ons on there, and you can just type in Juice Tech, and you'll see our Juice Technologies page come up, as well as some of our latest videos. From here, you'll be able to see all the previous recordings, as well as any playlists we might have, some easy file importer, Text My QB, just regular office hours. We're really going to try to continue to post here every week, so you guys have the content available to you. I think it's a great resource. We try to keep everything as DIY as possible, do it yourself. And we also try to just introduce you to new and improved ways to use our add-ons, different use cases that help you get more value out of the Quickbase platform. That is our whole goal and mission. And we hope that you guys continue to work with us to thrive using these add-ons. If you guys have any feature requests, updates, enhancements, anything that you might feel would help us succeed or help you succeed using our add-ons, please feel free to reach out. We truly appreciate any feedback. It helps us grow as a company. Keith?
Well, that's it. If there's no more questions, we appreciate you taking the time to be with us this past 45 minutes, and we look forward to another office hours next week.